Songs and monologues performed on the Two for Free podcast with Phill and Garett are copyrighted material. We are presenting them strictly for educational purposes.
We ask that you support the original artist by downloading the songs in their entirety and acquiring their sheet music through reputable sources. Links and info are in the description.
You're listening to the Two for Free podcast, the podcast taking you from the audition room to the stage.
We're workshopping songs and monologues from an actor's perspective
And a musician's perspective.
and taking your audition game to the next level.
I'm Phill.
And I'm Garrett, and this is episode 1. Hey Phil, what are we doing today?
In the next couple of days, I'll be auditioning for the musical Once.
Yeah.
And what's peculiar about the musical Once is that the actors on stage, or the way it's been staged on Broadway and the way it was incepted, is that the actors play the instruments on stage.
Correct.
So there's multiple instruments. So what I'll be doing today is I'm going to be presenting a song on ukulele, because one of the characters I'm interested in plays the ukulele.
Right. Well, and it's not a very common thing. I mean, the ability to play instruments is interwoven into the characters. They're all musicians, essentially, correct?
Yeah.
That's part of their characterization and how they identify themselves in the play, which is fascinating. And I commend you for auditioning for a show that requires you to multitask in that level. Not only do you have to act and sing, but you also have to be able to play your instruments while doing all of that. So good luck to you. I can't wait to hear your audition piece.
So I'm going to play on my ukulele.
Awesome.
And this song is I'll Follow You Into the Dark. So we're going to select
Death Cab for Cutie, baby.
Death Cab for Cutie, yes. We're going to select the first part in chorus for that, just to make a nice, about 16-bar audition. Okay, we're going to start again.
It's all good.
It's all good.
This is that's part of the process.
Part of the process.
That's why you rehearse.
Yep.
That's why it's important to practice your audition piece before the audition.
Love of mine, someday you will die, but I'll be close behind. I'll follow you into the dark. No binding light or tunnels to gates of light. Our hands just clasped so tight, waiting for the hint of a spark. If heaven and hell decide that they both are satisfied, illuminate the nose on their vacancy signs. There's no one beside you when your soul embarks. Then I'll follow you into the dark. Then I'll follow you into the dark.
Nice. That was a solid, was that 16 bars?
Yeah, like 16, probably a little bit over. The interesting thing about this one is that, like we said before, this is not a typical musical theater audition.
Right.
Because the audition request asked us to do a folk or rock song on an instrument.
Yeah.
And so it's not your typical, like, I'm going to belt out my highest note for as long as I can.
Exactly.
No, it's like, this is kind of a middle-of-the-range, nice baritone range pop song.
Right.
And from the mid-2000s.
And I don't believe any of the characters in Once wails at any point.
Unless you're Guy. But
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, I meant like the characters that you said you were interested in,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's a good, solid piece that shows off the fact that you can play an instrument and sing at the same time. It shows off a solid tone. I think you can work on the ending of the phrases and the beginning of your phrases as well. You do miss some of the words at the beginning of each, some of the lines. I think you can work on the pickup on that, and then holding out the note at the end of the phrase.
Okay.
Because a lot of them cut off short. So like, love of mine, someday you will die, but I'll be close behind. I think also, well, in the original recording, he kind of does this, it almost like waves.
Okay.
You know, like, no tunnels to gates of wide. So, you know.
It's like a little bit of slides and like
Exactly.
illusions.
A little bit. You don't have to do it as extreme as I'm doing it, but kind of have that feeling of like the ending is also like kind of coming ashore.
Okay.
It's not just crashing. You know, you're sliding onto the shore. You're not so much ending the phrase there. So have it be a little bit more legato. Also think about like the imagery. Like there's so much. What's great about the song that you chose is that there's a lot of great imagery in it. There's so much. Like he's giving you a plethora of imagery. Like if heaven and hell decide that they both are satisfied, they illuminate their nose on their vacancy signs. Like that alone is like what do you think that means to you as a performer of the song?
Yeah,
how does that lyric affect you?
I guess what kind of strikes me about it is just the imagery, and I think I remember like hearing it the first time, and that line "vacancy signs" just like really stuck out. And just like what an interesting way to say, like, you know, it's a very I guess kind of direct metaphor to just say, what if heaven and hell didn't have any room left, you know?
Right.
So it's a very artistic and interesting way, because you have to think about it as just like, there's nothing there, and there seems something, I don't know, kind of diving a little deeper into the text, there seems something temporary about that word, no vacancy, right?
Well, and it's illuminate their nose.
Yeah.
The nose on their
vacancy sign. So you'd always have vacancy, but no, like comes forward,
Right.
So, that's a good point,
It showcased your voice very well. It wasn't show-offy by any stretch, but it showcased you a lot better. And I think it showcased your abilities as a singer and as a musician as well. So when you're going through it, to add that layer of depth to your performance, think about the internal rhyming.
Okay.
Like, I will follow you into the dark.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great, almost false rhymes, if you can catch my drift. Like, love of mine, someday you will die. But it's kind of like an internal rhyme as opposed to like a true rhyme.
Yeah. Okay.
It's funny that he rhymed mine with die. There is true rhymes like light, white, tight. And he rhymes dark and spark together.
Yeah.
And they're kind of a spread apart in that sense. You know what I mean?
So what if like behind, because that's I think they're trying to get like the I in there. But I'll be close behind.
But that's funny is that it's trying to rhyme die and mine together.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you have the D from the die.
Yeah.
And you have the ein.
Yeah.
From mine to kind of combine into behind.
Yeah, right. So it's just interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
So you were bringing up earlier that there's a little bit of an interesting thing from a storyteller perspective. It's interesting. It's not the typical musical theater audition piece. So you're not stopping 5 minutes of the show to sing how you're feeling at that moment. Like this is a pop song. There is this kind of dark overtone for it, but what would you recommend for telling the story for this one? Well, just kind of focus on that moment, or just like a lot of when I've gone to clinicians in the past, like, oh, who are you thinking about?
Yeah.
When you sing this song, I'm like, oh, I guess to kind of on a base acting level to like kind of make it relevant to you, you have to compare it to something, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, with any song, if you're singing something, it's a lot more powerful than spoken word. So there's going to be a lot more heightened emotions in it. And being as specific as you can be with your image of what you're singing about or who you're singing to. Like, this is very specifically singing to a person.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually a good pop song to kind of start with, because not very many of them have a specific, like, they're not talking specifically to a person. This one is obviously one person speaking to another person, and it's very deliberate in how they're speaking to this person. It's obviously someone that they love. Now, whether or not you take it as like a significant other is up to you. You can also have like the way that I connect to this song in like a loved one who passed.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't necessarily mean...
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, it's like a romantic love. It just says love of mine. It's very ambiguous. So it could be like anybody. Right?
Exactly. Like, well, we take that phrase love of mine as in like a significant other. Yeah. But that, again, you can go back to like thinking of someone that you'll miss if they're gone from your life, and having that, being specific about who that person is to you, whether it is, I mean, people will say like have like a relative, but it could be your fucking dog. Yeah. Like true. People love their dogs. I mean, I love my dog. So you don't have to tell that to anybody. That's just for you. Yeah. That's for you to feel within the song. So having that, by being specific with who you're singing to, for yourself, you don't have to tell anybody about who you're singing to. Will help you convey that message across, especially in love songs. Yeah. Love songs specifically, because love is such a strong emotion, and a lot of times the lyricists will choose a lot of very good like imagery. Yeah.
It's interesting that you say love song. It's like, I guess, there is the arching kind of theme already about like, it's about love. It's about one person that loves each other. But it's like, maybe for me, it's like I almost feel a bit more of a song of loss. But he's not talking about loss that's there. It's like loss that is going to happen, which is interesting. It's not very cut and dry. Like,
well, that's what's great about that's what's good about pop songs, is that you can kind of put your own spin on it. Whereas like musicals, you kind of are limited with the context of the show. A lot of times when you're choosing audition pieces, you also have like the image of the whole musical that audition piece fits into. So you always think of like, oh, the character's going through this at that time in the show. But you can put your own spin onto it. Like, you can have it mean something different to you while you're performing it for the audition. So pop songs are a good way to kind of input your own emotions into the song. So like, it could be about lost love that has yet to come. And I think that's a good interpretation of it, is like kind of preparing somebody like, I'm going to lose you someday. I'm going to miss you a hell of a lot. But know this, that like in the afterlife, I'll be there too. And you won't be alone. That's kind of everyone's worst fear, is that they're going to die alone. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a lot of people's worst fear, is that they're just going to be dead and gone and forgotten. And I think you can kind of use this song to kind of reinterpret it to be like a commemoration of someone that's, about to go, or is about to leave you, or has left you. Do you want to try it?
Yeah, why don't I just kind of like take a second to think about that, and then we'll
let that marinate a little bit.
Kind of run along. It's just like we've both kind of brought up interesting points about how we would interpret this text in a ways, and this is good because as somebody who's been worrying about the music, I've spent most of the week just kind of running the song, making sure I have the chords down, trying to memorize the lyrics as best as possible. You can see there's still some lyric droppage, but it's always good to just kind of get down to it and just like, okay, now it's time to interpret the text. Yeah. And just like, how will that affect your singing? Will that affect your playing? That's a good question. Yeah. So I guess we'll find out on this one. Okay. Yeah. Now let me think about it. Okay.
Take a second if you need a second.
Okay, let's try it.
Okay.
Here we go.
Do you need the lyrics?
Trying to go as much without the lyrics there. If you just leave it like that would be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
close behind. I'll follow you into the dark. No binding light or tunnels to gates of white. Our hands just clasped so tight, waiting for the hint of a spark. If heaven and hell decide that they both are satisfied, illuminate the nose on their vacancy signs. There's no one beside you when your soul embarks, and I'll follow you into the dark. Then I'll follow you into the dark.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay. So I mean,
yeah, there's some kind of memory slips up, and I think that was kind of good to just not have the crutch of having that in front of me, because I won't on the day.
yeah.
And I think towards the end I got a little bit caught up in like, oh God, what's the next chord or what's that? And it was like, you know it, man, just do it. Yeah.
You do. Honestly, you do know the song. And I think you're just getting caught up in like, I gotta perform it a certain way. But I think if you get too much into your head, you become your own roadblock. Because you do know the lyrics, you got all the lyrics down. The chords, you were just second guessing yourself. But they ended up being correct a little bit later just because you second guessed yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were correct. I mean, you have it.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just about being confident with it. I really liked, I gotta say though, I really liked when you said waiting for the hint of a spark. I really liked the way you did that line. I would encourage you, I know it's difficult with the strumming and the playing at the same time. Just really focus on the end of your phrases because they're really short.
It's really interesting. Let me just try the first part again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of keep it there just as a reference point.
Sure.
It's just kind of, I guess it's the interpretation, because I have been performing this song for a couple of years now.
Okay.
It's something that's kind of in my ukulele repertoire. So it's very interesting that you always bring up this fact of like the one thing is like, what can you do to lengthen out the rest of the line? So let me just try to internalize that and see what I can do, even though everything's going all at once.
I mean, I'm not gonna be like, dude, why aren't you doing this?
Yeah.
It's so easy, but because you're strumming a ukulele, I can't do that.
Yeah.
If I had to do that, I'd be like,
No,
it'd be so bad.
Yeah, it's easier, and I think this is kind of a good kind of learning lesson for anybody who's listening, who's prepping for an audition. It's like, you will have these pitfalls. It's like sometimes a lyric doesn't come out right, or it's just something that is like, all right, I need to take some time, and I just need to step away from the material for a bit.
Yeah.
Because if you keep on drilling something into your head, you're just going to go crazy, you're going to break down. Like,
Right.
There's been a couple lessons where I'm just like, oh my God, why can't I do this? And I just break down because I feel like, this is,
What's funny is that kind of goes back to giving yourself enough time to learn the audition piece. Granted, we kind of discussed it last week. It wasn't so much like you weren't practicing. You were just practicing a different song. And I convinced Phill last week to change it over to this song. So he kind of pulled this out in the past week. So it's not like he hasn't been practicing. But for those of you out there who wait till literally the week before to practice your song with no excuse.
yeah.
There's a reason, you know about it usually about a month ahead. So take that time to prepare. Learn your song. Listen to it. You can listen to it at any point. There's no excuse nowadays. Now with YouTube, you can find accompaniment music online. You can listen to it on the original cast recording. There's so many avenues for actors to utilize, and for an actor to not be prepared for an audition, it's kind of inexcusable. I don't mean to like be harsh, but like that's kind of that's the audition is where you need to focus your energy, not preparing for the role that you haven't gotten yet. You have to get past that initial stage first. So preparing for your audition is the most important part, because you don't want these roadblocks to come up in the audition room. The more you prepare, the less likely they'll occur.
Yeah.
So the lyric memorization, the notes, those kind of things, just that shouldn't be second. Like, you should be focusing on the emotion behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, within the 3 days before you should be kind of polishing it as opposed to forming it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, this has been a very kind of experience thing, but this was a song I had in my repertoire, so it's not like
Right.
I started learning the song last week. It's a song that I was like, okay, I can polish this, I can present it for an audition. So
I mean, you pulled it out of nowhere last week, and I was like, why aren't you doing this song instead? This is so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're a good sport about it, and we came up with this whole idea like last week, and I'm really proud of. Yeah, this is really great.
Well, thank you.
So try it again. Why don't we just take it from the first 2 verses.
Okay.
And trying to focus in on just elongating the ends of the words. And I just realized, side note, in the chorus, decide, satisfied, and signs, they're all kind of false rhyming each other.
Mm-hmm.
Except, decide.
Well, satisfied is like, he kind of rhymes within the word, but even though the last consonant is not in the, because, well, I guess there's still hard D, right? Decide.
Yeah.
Satisfied. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's still that alliteration. There's so much alliteration and so much, like, gold in this. It's so good.
Yeah.
And, like, even now I'm like, oh, there's this here and there's this. It's just so intricate. But yeah, anyways, back to the first verse. Just kind of focus in on elongating the ends of your phrases, especially mine, die. You can kind of shorten behind.
Okay.
And dark a little bit longer. You don't have to elongate. Light, not white. But our hands clasp so tight.
Yeah.
And that's such a powerful image.
Yeah.
Our hands clasp so tight.
It's really, I think, kind of what's tripping me up too is that he uses a lot of really strong consonants at the ends of his lines.
Yes.
So you really have to, it's, well, in singing we're holding out the vowels, right? So we don't sing R. It's like we're not country western, so we don't go R. But I will follow you into the dark.
But they're always preceded by a vowel.
Yeah, it's always a vowel, so you have to focus on extending vowel, even though the consonant is very a very tight cutoff.
Yeah, it is very, very. The consonants are hard. The only one that's not is the die.
Mm-hmm.
Die, but everything else is just kind of holding on the vowels a little bit longer. Yeah, let's try that.
Okay, here we go. Love of mine, someday you will die, but I'll be close behind. I'll follow you into the dark.
Yes.
No binding light or tunnels to gates of white. Our hands just clasp so tight, waiting for the hint of a spark. If heaven and hell decide that they both... Okay.
That was great.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, yes.
Yeah?
Holding out the I and just holding out those vowels just makes a huge difference in the sound. I don't know. I feel like it does.
Yeah, I think it gives a little more opportunity to kind of... And it's more singing than it is speak singing, because if you just make those words that, it's just like you don't really do anything to the note or give the note any justice. Not that melodically these lines are super interesting or that's not really the destination, but it does give a little extension because the music continues on.
Well, and I don't know if this comes into play, but with comedy, you want room to breathe with it.
Mm-hmm.
So by holding that note out, you give them time to comprehend and put together the previous phrase that you've sung, if that makes sense. I don't know if I was heard, but Yeah, you give them that sense that you give them the imagery together by holding it out instead of just kind of cutting it short. And you also want to kind of enjoy that last note because it's a nice note. You sound good on it. Yeah. The lyric is blinding light.
Blinding light. Okay.
Yeah. Now binding light.
Blinding. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because again, alliteration. L and L. So blinding light. That's the only. Yeah. Try the chorus now.
Okay.
It's here.
Alright, so I'm going to go waiting for the hint of a spark. Waiting for the hint of a spark. If heaven and hell decide that they both are satisfied, illuminate the nose on their vacancy signs. If there's no one beside you when your soul embarks, then I'll follow you into the dark. I'll follow you into the dark.
You're giving me just dark a little bit longer, just because it.
So like, I'll follow you into the dark.
Yeah, just a
Yeah,
little bit.
I think that's like kind of more in the style of musical theater too.
Yeah.
If we hold it out. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, you can cut the initial follow you into the dark short,
Mm-hmm.
but that last one you kind of want to hold on a little bit longer.
Okay.
You don't have to do it as long as.
Yeah,
It was a little exaggerated.
Yeah, it's just like our vibratos are very different, so I think it's just. So I'm gonna run the whole thing and just kind of incorporate.
Yeah.
Or try to incorporate everything that we've discussed today.
Cool. Awesome.
Okay.
Elongate. So let's go over it. So elongate the notes.
Elongate the notes.
Focus in on the I guess the lyrics, the beginning and the ending of the phrases. Be careful of the alliteration. Those are important. That's very good. Focus in on the imagery and be specific with who you're singing to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll slate myself.
Sure.
Just to practice for audition.
Yeah,
so,
that'd be good. Yeah.
So slate is just kind of an introduction of who you are in the song that you're singing.
Yeah.
So, hello, my name is Phill, and I will be singing I'll Follow You Into the Dark made famous by the band Death Cab for Cutie. Love of mine, someday you will die, but I'll be close behind. I'll follow you into the dark. No binding light or tunnels to gates of white. Our hands just clasped so tight, waiting for the hint of a spark. If heaven and hell decide that they both are satisfied, illuminate the nose on their vacancy signs. There's no one beside you when your soul embarks, then I'll follow you into the dark. I'll follow you into the dark.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It wasn't.
I mean, you started off really good. Like
Yeah.
You definitely focused in on the extending of the final notes, which is great. You sounded really good. Then after, we were laughing because he said binding again.
Oh yeah.
But I think it was after that you kind of got too much in your head. And
Yeah.
It definitely
And I think
frazzled you.
The important thing to happen is that these are live auditions, right?
Right.
So,
no matter
like,
what happens,
you just have to be ready for anything. You
Yeah.
just have to kind of roll for it. It's like, there will be some times where the directors or the producers will be kind of polite, or the casting directors will be kind of polite. It's like, okay, you can try it again, or do you want to try again, or something like that.
Yeah.
If there's an obvious mix-up, or if you get too distressed. But kind of the good sign of a good performer is that if something wrong happens, you just gotta kind of roll with it.
Going.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Fake it till you make it.
If you don't know your lyrics, law's good. Make something up. Sing about lunch, as one of my college roommates would say. He's like, I didn't really remember my song, so I just sang about lunch.
Or, if you forget your lyrics, stay in character completely. And just kind of stop. And then give that or almost cry. You're like, and then, at the end, just be like, I completely forgot my lyrics.
Yeah, I guess the important part is that you stay kind of in the moment if you stay focused and ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great job, Phil. I hope you kill it at the audition. I'm pretty sure you will. Good luck, my friend.
Well, thank you, Garrett, for helping me out with my song today. I really hope I do well at the audition.
You're going to do great, Phil. You sounded awesome.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. So, what are we tackling next week?
Oh, just you wait. We're switching roles.
We are?
Yeah, you're going to be playing piano, and I'm going to be singing a song.
Oh, that's crazy. What piece are we going to be working on?
We're working on Waving Through a Window by Passing and Paul from Dear Evan Hansen.
Hey, that's that new musical that came out a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. It was on Broadway. It's fantastic.
And it won Tony Awards, yeah?
Correct. You are correct, sir.
All right, cool. I'm going to be really excited to work with you on that next week. So if they want to follow us, where can they go?
Well, you can follow us here on YouTube by hitting that subscribe button. Leave us a comment, leave us a like, share it, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, that's really cool. What if they want to get in contact with us to be on the show?
Well, Phil, I'm glad you asked. If you're on the island of Oahu and want to be on the show, you can email us at 2forfreepodcast@gmail.com.
All right. That's really awesome to hear. So we'll end our podcast there. Thank you to our lovely audience for listening to our podcast today. I have been Phil.
I've been Garrett, and this is the 2 for Free Podcast. Peace.